Okay. This is a chance is a play. How I wish we can put up this play.
It can be done.
It can be done. Okay. This is a chance is a play by James Ene Henshaw. Act one of the play is opened with the Princess Kudaro is seated at a table on which are placed a mirror and some cosmetics. She is a young woman of about 18 and seems to derive great pleasure from her reflection in the mirror. Her hair is neatly done and tied at the back in more or less an European fashion. Her attire is simple and there are marks of design which show that the intelligence which fashioned it is not native to Coloro. It might have been made in any of the larger towns in West Africa, but not in the little village of Coloro. As I said, this is a chant, is a play, and the meaning of this play can only be seen when it is acted, and the opportunity of the actors to extra the opportunity, the privilege to show what they love most in the time was really paramount. So I wish Planeyo will get us the time. Let's get this book, this play, mounted for us to get the big gist of it. The big gist of it.
Get that now.
Let me read this other book. Let me read a book that is not a play.
Okay.
Please, so that we can get the gist of it. This other book we published is called Who Killed the Celebrity? In a nutshell, the celebrity is about a young lady who had an eye in being modest in her time, but she was not able to get that vision fully achieved. Her parents were not the type that gave to her the opportunity to show herself as someone who was really coming up with something to give to the world of her time. So chapter 1 of it is saying, I do not quite understand the circumstances of my grandparents' migration from Italy to the United Kingdom. But one myth claims that my grandpa met a beautiful English woman in Italy. They liked each other. and migrated to London, UK. That was when he settled down with the love of his life in a conjugal relationship. Although not rich like most people, they were in a relatively under poverty category. It must have been hard for them and their children because of social class disparities and distinctions within their locality. According to our family diary, my father was born in the early 1970s. I remember my dad, when in his pleasant mood, would tell us, I was not born attractive, but I grew up to be a smart dodge every girl admired. In a deep tone, but his voice grew his baritone. He was proud of his ancestry's beauties. A gentleman would find lovely inky hair and chocolate brown eyes, looking stout and often flaunting his rectus abdominis. The six-pack macho young ladies craved and died for him. My mom is close to my father's age, bracket, and she was born in 1973. Back then, in the good old days, she would share with us all the fun she had when they were both celebrated. The septuagenarians, when they were celebrating the septuagenarians. Nature seems partial to some people, but there is eternal wisdom because everything cannot be the same, including human beings. Mom was rather lucky to marry my father because she was not charming enough back then to match that. I think I should pause there.
Yes, and since we have most of the books you publish and market, you might just like to show them to the audience one by one. For instance, we have Pastor Goods.
Who Killed the Celebrity? Are you capturing it?
Yes, it is.
I just read a few lines of that. Who Killed the Celebrity?
Yeah.
Was it the father, the parents, or the people? You need to read it and know the whole story of that. This is the electorate revolt. The electorate revolt carries a beautiful storyline in a system whereby electoral fraud and malpractices is all that people are doing. So electorate revolt is about electoral fraud, which is prominent in our society today. Excursions. Excursions is poetry for schools and colleges. Beautiful story, poetry written by a professor of English, Basi Ekwenyam. You need to read it and enjoy. Okay. I have Sons of the Dawn. Sons of the Dawn is poetry. It's poetry book written by Friday Jackson. It has some explanatory notes attached to it, so you can enjoy your poetry and you can enjoy the explanations that are attached to it. Friday Jack Ekana is the author of Sons of the Dawn. The Unbeatable Precedence is published by Samuel Educational. The author is Ine Anyekan Okon. Ine Anyekan is a lawyer by profession. Do well to read it and send us your comments. Slicing of Raindrops is written by Toby Bassett. Toby is a lawyer but navigates into poetry writing. Beautiful book published by Samuel Educational Limited. Folk Tales of Nigeria is written by a very successful teacher, a very successful civil servant, a very successful administrator, Edion Senyene Udom of blessed memory. He wrote about stories of Nigeria, folk tales of Nigeria, beautiful stories. Pick a copy and read, and you will like it. Self-Discovery is another very striking poetry written by Patrick Uturufon. Patrick is a lawyer by profession. We have a play, I Beg Your Pardon. What a very beautiful title. I Beg Your Pardon is a play written by Dr. Michael Nwa Esi. Do well to pick a copy and read. And of course, The Tragedy of Adata is a book we market to schools and the general public. It's published by Michael Nwa Esi. Not Yet Over is a beautiful storyline that you would like to read. We have copies available at any time. Pick a copy and read. Dinner for Promotion is one of the plays written by James Henshaw, the author of This Is Our Chance. Pick a copy and enjoy Dinner for Promotion. This is another book written by the same author, James Henshaw. It's a play. James Henshaw was a very erudite writer, although he was a medical doctor. Pick a copy and read, and you will enjoy it.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Samuel Udom, the MD of Samuel Educational Limited, for taking out time to be with us today at Planeyo Book Circle. And today, I'm happy that you shared your knowledge and your experience in publishing with us, and I'm sure that anyone out there who has listened you learn a lot of things, and you'll be better guided in the publishing ecosystem. And so I would like you to share some pieces of advice you have for the public, the authors, the readers, the publishers, and everyone before you take your leave.
My final word to authors, readers, and general public is that books have so many information, very useful information we could derive about life. So develop an interest to read books, develop interest to write books, develop interest to visit publishers, discuss ideas until they are able to form an image that will make for a good publication. So I hope that by next visit we will be able to present a much more better package, and always call on us. Planeyo, please call on us again and give us more time.
Okay.
And tell us what areas you would like us to discuss, so that we can give you a better package. For now, think about books, write books, publish books, use good publishers like Samove Educational Limited, and use upcoming publishers like Planeyo also.
Thank you.
We are all working together to ensure that the publishing ecosystem, the publishing industry is better for humanity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It has been an epic interview in fact, I won't call it interview, conversation.
Yes.
With Mr. Samuel Udom, an eminent publisher in Akwa Ibom State of Nigeria. I respect him so much because of his knowledge and for the principles that he has when it comes to publishing and doing business. And we really thank him for coming, and we wish him and his company well. We thank him for encouraging us, especially Planeyo publishers, because that is what his presence here today really implies. And you could see that from what he has said, he knows so much about the publishing industry, and he has such a deep experience. And I know that we can learn more and more from him anytime when we call on him. And so right now we're going to take a break, and when we are back, we are going to take on Lovudo, who is here in the house to review the Joe Share Poetry Prize Anthology. And we will take a break now, during which we will take some pictures with our guest, Mr. Samuel.
Are you looking for a place to have your quality printing done in Uyo? Look no further than Planeyo Publishers for your quality direct imaging printing. Our services include graphic design, photocopy, color photocopy, typing and printing, lamination, flexing poster, book publishing, wedding and burial programs, ID card printing, passport printing, photo enlargement. You can also make your gifts more valuable when you brand them. Let's brand your gift items and souvenirs. Visit Planeyo Publishers at number 2 Eka Street off Ikodekbene Road, Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, or call 0802 7898 705 002 789 8705. Planeyo Publishers, publishing your dream works.
Thank you very much. This is still Planeyo Book Circle taking place at Planeyo Publishers, number 3 Eka Street, Obikorokbene Road, Uyo. This is the 8th edition of Planeyo Book Circle, the May 2026 edition of Planeyo Book Circle. And of course, Planeyo Book Circle is a book club dedicated to the promotion of books, our authors, and our publishers in Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria, and anywhere in the world. And when we meet, we read books, we discuss books, we speak to authors, we speak to critics, we speak to publishers. For instance, we've just spoken to Mr. Samuel Udom, the MD of Samu Educational Limited. He spoke to us about publishing, blessing us with the years of experience he has had in the publishing industry in Nigeria. Straight up, we're moving on to the next item, which is the review of the Joe Shepard Prize Anthology. And that is going to be undertaken by no other person than Love. Love, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I'll be reviewing the Joe Shea Poetry Prize Anthology, Volume 1. Now let's start with this title. From the title, one could tell that this is a compilation of poems from notable entries that were submitted for the Joe Shea Poetry Competition. Also, the volume 1, which is highlighted here, shows that there's that likelihood for a subsequent publication. Now we have photographs of individuals, which indicates that this book or the poem is drawn from a youthful pool of writers. But a closer look at the faces shows that they are all male, so we do not have any female here, which raises a concern. So does it mean that this competition was gender-based?
No, you do the review after that we discuss.
Okay. So the work is edited by Rome Abor, Asha Jeffers, and Matthias Ohiro. Pardon me if I don't pronounce your name well. Now this work is dedicated to the legacy of Joe Shea. It has about 49 pages plus 10 preliminary pages, making it 59. This anthology is made up of 27 poems, including Sisyphus by Eliomema Udofia, Garden of Wonder by Alfred Olaya. We have Jele Water by Marvelous Igwe. We have Dawn by Ferdinand Sompochukwu. We have Nothing More by Utibe Hanson. We have The House That Ate Its Children by Adeoso Motayo. Transgressors by Adesina. The Laws of God by Ariyo Ferrando. Gulf Love Memories by Chijoke, Endangered Species by Jiwo, When My Man Returns from Sambisa by Johanna Daniel, There's a Black Hole Somewhere in My Body by Akani Olaine, Collocation Otibe Hansen, What the Wind Remembers About Tomorrow by Christian Emecheta, We Marry Thunder to Delay the Rain by Abeye, The Day the Sky Refused to Be Blue by Paul Olayinka. We have The Republic of Rage and Roses by Osieka Ado. We have Daggers of the Scorched Eve by Chris. We have D is for Delta by Ife Sinachi Wadike. We Buried the Rain with Our Names Still in Our Mouth, Abiye. Untitled by Simon Apama. Lord Advocate, Elegy for Esa Efion by Chris Monday. Alsfat Prayers by Chris Ainibo. Something About Flowers by Gerald Ewa. Lagos Never Sleeps by Chimezie Moeka. Portrait of a Man on Fire by Chimezie Moeka. And then lastly, Odes to Joe Ushe by Vitalis Chine Merem. Now I am going to read about 3 poems and then share my thought on each of them. The first one is Sisyphus, and it reads, I am my mother's son, if you count only the living, fourth, if you summon the dead. And the truth is, I am not much of a good son. I refuse to roam the labyrinth of familiar scars, to kneel dejected at the feet of my misfortunes, nor do I partake in communions of grief, where my father's absence is broken as bread, and my mother's tears wine. I laugh over what some would genuinely weep for. Tell me, whose fault is it that I was conceived into the chaos of a shipwreck, into this disarray of crushed rose petals and fractured vows? Once mid-sermon, I raced out of a chapel because the preacher's word were a hammer against my cardboard heart. He kept thanking the Father. And what Father have I to worship? All my life, I have dreamed of waking to find him sitting cross-legged in the parlor, reading from a newspaper. Instead, every day, I wake to my mother's piercing sobs in the dark cage of our room. Hope, I tell you, is a lousy thing. How brief the duration of its bliss. To shield her from memories of him, I wear a mask over my face. I am both the father and the begotten son. I am all my mother has left, what my father has left to torture her. I am sand and sandstorm, rain and flood water. I am the hand bending an exclamation into a question mark. Each night I try to shut my eyes. They appear before me, bearing mouthfuls of regret. My father and his knees. My father on his knees. If you must know, I am not all muscles and tendon. Behind this grinding face, a boy hungers for parental love. Call me son, and I swear I'll crumble right here before your feet. The bright birds in me long to cheer up. There are succulent parts of me I shield from the light. In the darkness of my room, I muffle my cries in the silkiness of a pillow. A wet patch growing into a city of dreams. I too deserve the softness of this world. To be unladen of the burden I have carried the entirety of my life. I, Sisyphus, with the bolder weight of a father's name. Take this cup from me, dear Lord. I never once lamented thirst. Now this poem is from a boy who haven't felt the presence of a father, the love of a father, and so from the depths of his heart, he now pens down these words. Now, From the poem, we can sense the theme of abandonment and a deep sense of longing for parental care. Now that is seen in lines 27, 28, 29, and 33, where he says, behind this grinning face, a boy hungers for parental love. Call me son, and I swear I'll crumble right here before your feet. Now, there's no one to call him a son, and so he is longing for that love that he sees in other homes, so that he too can feel it. There's also a theme of emotional and physical burden. The boy is bearing an emotional and physical burden in that he has been made to act both as a father and a child. That is found in lines 19 and 23, where it says, I wear a mask over my face. Okay, to shield her from memories of him, I wear a mask over my face. I am both the father and the begotten son. I am all my mother has left, what my father has left to torture her. I am sand and sandstorm, rain and flood water. I am the hand bending an exclamation into a question mark. So he's performing the role of a father in a home and also the son, and he tries as much as possible to comfort his mother and to ensure that the memories of his father is not seen or does not appear to the mother. Then we also have the theme of resistance, where the prisoner does not fully submit to grief, but he questions it. This is found in lines 3 to 8, where it says, I refuse to roam the living of familiar scars, to kneel dejected at the feet of my misfortunes, nor do I partake in communions of grief, where my father's absence is broken as bread, and my mother's tears wine. He went further to say, I laugh over what some would genuinely wait for. Tell me, whose fault is it that I was conceived into the chaos of a shipwreck, into this disarray of crushed rose petals and fractured vows? Inasmuch as he knows that he is grieving, he does not allow it to weigh him down. So sometimes he has to hide it so that it doesn't look like his grief. Now, the poem also presents some strong and striking images to express emotional tension and confusion. So such imagery is that of I do not partake in communion of grief, when my father's absence is broken as bread and my mother's tears as wine. So he's now using the mother's tears to represent wine, and then the father's absence as bread. Another one is where it says, the preacher's words were a hammer against my cardboard heart. As he's using cardboard to show that in as much as he is somehow experiencing this grief, that his heart has been hardened. So generally, this is the reality in many homes where the absence of a father places a burden, an emotional and physical burden on both the father, on both the mother and the child. And when this happens, when there is this gap, it makes the child to mature very fast, because he's bearing a burden that is not his, that is not supposed to bear. Okay, so the next one is Dawn, written by Ferdinand Somtochukwu. That is found in page 6. And it reads, "The sky coming into light is proof of new beginnings. See how the night lifts its hands in surrender. I tell you, at the door of your sorrow, the hinges remain unclosed, still waiting. Like night yielding to the promise of day, like morning opening its arm to the sky, the birds rise into light, unwearied by yesterday. Like them, you are no longer held by your plight. Something in you turns towards the sun's light. Something quiet reminds you of your beginning." Now, this poem presents a rather comforting and assuring tone that no matter what we've experienced in the past, our sorrows, our pains, our hurts, that in as much as the night always gives way for morning, that our sorrows, no matter how long it may last, will bring us joy in the end. And so the charge is that we should continue to be hopeful and not to allow our past hurts weigh us down. Okay, so we have theme of renewal and hope after hardship, grief, or loss. We also have a theme of healing and personal transformation. And then the last one is that of resilience, where the human spirit is likened to nature. That being said, I move to the last poem, which is Ode to Joe O'Shea, and it is written by Vitalis Chinecherem, and it reads, "What if I became Joe O'Shea, a name carved in the rhythm of time, with words as tender as the dawn's first light, where every line I write is a river, rushing through the earth with the weight of truth, coursing through the valleys of ignorance and flowering in the desert of despair. What if I became Joe O'Shea, a voice woven from the fabric of the sky, stitching the clouds with syllables of change, where every pen I pen is a song of deviance, a song that shatters silence, a song that awakens the winds to dance in the fields of justice, love, and peace. What if I became Joe O'Shea, a dreamer whose eyes hold the secrets of the stars, who gazes upon the earth and sees its scars, and in his gaze 1,000 songs bloom, like flowers in a garden forgotten by time? What if my words could lift the weight of sorrow and build bridges from the ashes of pain? What if I became Joe O'Shea, a soul whose pain runs wild like the rivers of Africa, that writes not only for the present, but for the unborn, for the voices of the oppressed, for the hearts that tremble in shadows, for a world that needs a savior, not in flesh, but in thought, in ink, in verse. What if I became Joe O'Shea? I'll be the poet who sings the songs of the earth. The winds will know my name as they carry my ways. The trees will whisper my verses, and every leaf, every branch, every bud will bloom in reference to the power of a dreamer, to the power of a poet who dares to weave the world anew. What if I became Joe O'Shea? I'll write for the hope that lives in the soil, for the rivers that carry the heartbeats of nations, for the stories we must tell, for the truth that demands to be heard, for the voices that cannot cry, and for the future that can still be saved. So I ask, what if I became Joe O'Shea? I will be the echo in the valleys, the fire in the dark, the ink that flows unbroken, writing the world back into shape, a poet, a dreamer, a healer of hearts. Now this poem is a tribute to Joe Boucher, an excellent writer. And so the person here admires this very writer, and so he aspires to be like him. So, in conclusion, I'll say that this anthology covers almost all aspects of life. We have poems that talks about the borders on suffering, pain, death, corruption, among others. And so I recommend this anthology to poetry lovers and the reading public. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Love, for the review of the Joe Boucher Poetry Prize anthology. I think before we go into discussion, I would like you to also take on the review from Barnabas, who is not here because he has some other engagement that's more demanding. And then from there we'll now check the two items side by side as we go in our discussion and reading of the works reviewed. So when you're ready, let me know so that you can read the review sent in by Barnabas Dick for Utuba Hanson's Unnoticed Presence of Things.
So I will be reading the review of Unnoticed Presence of Things by Utuba Hanson. And this review was made by Barnabas Dick, and he sent it in, so I'm going to read as written. Review of Unnoticed Presence of Things by Utuba Hanson. Theme put: I am invincible, understand, simply because people refuse to see me. Ralph Edison, Invincible Man. Title: Unnoticed Presence of Things. Author: Utuba Hanson. Publisher: Knowledge Publishing. Town of publication: Ibadan. Year of publication: 2022. Pagination: 81. Price not stated. Reviewer is Barnabas Dick and the reader is Love Udo. Introduction. Writing a proper introduction for this collection was a Herculean task that took days. According to the author, a subject is nothingness, a noticed absence or an unnoticed presence, the beginning of everything and the end. With such antithesis as the underlying message, the reader is then invited to the survey of life from the author's view. This also means, and the author confirms, that there is no peculiar unified thematic concern except in the section ending. The fact that most of the poems do not end with a full stop implies that a reader may contribute a verse if they are unable to detect the context or approach. Leaving it open as such shows the author's invitation to the reader to also fill the void that life has left open. Suffice to say that the poems in this collection do more than just present words in poetic lines, but point to a deeper reflection of life's sojourn. Unnoticed presence of things could be read as an invitation to a larger picture of life from the author's angle. From the biblical angle to the sociological angle, the collection breathes life to the very fabrics that holds humanity. For what could make up for the themes here are themes of death, grief and mourning, themes of growth, themes of love, themes that border on religion, and themes that capture lived experience. Organization. Unnoticed presence of things by Otibia Hansen contains 34 poems divided into 7 categories. The first category, entitled Ascent, contains 4 poems, namely Creation Story, Invocations, As Lovers Do, and Invitation. The second, Beginning, contains 6 poems, namely The Communion, As Poets Have Decided to Be Poets No More, A Valediction, Permitting Mourning, A Theory of Silence, Across Time Lines, and How to Spell Nothing. In the third category, joining the poems are Remembering Rivers, Look Homeward, In Fullness of Time, Rapture, Beloved Children, Transcendence, and Exit Wounds. The fourth category, Arriving, contains 7 poems. Child Soldier, Love Before Love, Eve, No Holy for Miss Clara, Haven, Immigrant, and For the Weak. The fifth category, Gathering, has 5 poems. Epithalamion, In My Time, Wilderness Experience, Cyclic, and House of Cockroach. The sixth category, Ending, contains 4 poems. We have Earth, Be Not Proud, In Memoriam, Along a School Road, and Service of Songs. The last category, Descent, has only 1 poem, which is Who is the Muse to Me? I intend to analyze 3 poems in this collection from different categories, namely, As Poets Have Decided to Be Poets No More, from the segment Beginning, In Fullness of View, In Fullness of Time, then from the segment Journeying, Wilderness Experience, from the category entitled Gathering. Subject matter and major themes. Unnoticed presence of things as a fabricated and condensed subject matter. It can be deduced that the subject matter hovers around the intricacies of life from the writer's view. Such themes as death, grief, mourning, growth, love, religion, among others, are discussed in this collection. Analysis of content. The first poem under review is As Poets Have Decided to Be Poets No More, found in the category entitled Beginning. The poem is structured in 6 stanzas of unequal lines. The poem is a deep reflection of what life really is. The first stanza compares life to thick green leaves that suddenly shrinks to jello beans and in no time begins to fall. Now, the mentioning of grief in lines 4 is a metaphor for death. Death, therefore, seems to end it all and happens too suddenly, just as leaves do appear greenish, but soon becomes yellowish and wither. Death, as pictured in stanza 1, is carried over to stanza 2, where the persona mentions that a mother no longer wakes up to her children, but roll over them, creating a visual imagery of a mother wailing at the mentioning of her child's death. Now, such imagery the persona uses irony to describe as a journey that is 6 feet tall from looking down, to bring to mind the 6 feet that is dug whenever a human being is to be laid to rest. Now, in stanza 3, the persona reiterates that when this happens, the nation sleeps soundly in the arms of chaos. Now, this line reminds a Nigerian reader of the recent and incessant killings that has been the order of the day in Nigeria, from Jos to Benue to Delta and to the northern parts of Nigeria. The line "sleeping soundly in chaos" shows the nonchalant attitude of those in leadership position, which amount to the loss of innocent lives. Stanza 4 continues to shed light on the havoc of insecurity. Knife is mentioned as cutting through the tongue and causing innocence to leak. Now, innocence leaking here refers to the dear young lives of innocent young people with a promising future, all cut short due to the shabby attitude of people in leadership position. It is further compared using simile to a bad roof on a rainy night. Now, the lines smearing the linen of silence shows that these efforts are usually loud. Of course, mass killings and shooting of innocent people, as it is happening across the country, is usually loud. But here, the persona says it is silent. The silence stays due to the silent attitude by those in leadership. Therefore, the silence is symbolic of the silent nature of leaders who should be proactive. In the 5th stanza, the persona begins with a powerful rhetorical question. Is a poem a song for pages and stanzas? Is a poem a song for pages and stages alone? This rhetorical question reminds the reader of the title of this poem, as poets have decided to be poets no more, with the readers recalling that the task of a poet is capturing the happenings in the society and also predicting the future. And so such happenings as made alive in this poem are not strange for the poet's ink, just as the age is not a strange bird, just as the eagle is not a strange bird. The last stanza leaves a gap to be filled by the reader. Whether those who are poets are still poets, or if they have stopped being poets because of fear, it can be concluded from my angle that if poets are still poets, then fear should be far off, as poets capture events as they happen with the aim of correcting. The second poem under review is In Fullness of Time, found in the category entitled Journey. It can be deduced that life is a journey that leaves one with questions, some answered while many others left unanswered, still yet some wallowing and pausing its search for it. The poem is structured in 4 stanzas of unequal lines, with a strong reflection on the question, what is life all about? In the first stanza, the persona wonders what will happen when life, like a book, comes to a close. Life then is compared to a book, and a book, just as this collection, usually has an end, and sometimes, like other books, has no time for summary. The personal wonders, what then happens when someone dies? Is it joy, grief, pleasure, or poverty? Leaving the reader with a void to fill. In the second stanza, the personal think about life of the departed. Could it have been one that beamed with love, strife, failure, or success? He concludes the stanza by looking at the height that many ascended and compares it with others who are still pushing ahead to find a name. It brings to the fore the fact that life has no menu and cannot wait for one to achieve all dreams. It also motions that faith is a leveler as Thomas Gray beckons in his poem, Elegy, written in a country church yard, in the lines, "They boast of heraldry, the pomp of power, and all that beauty, all that wealth or great gift awaits alike the inevitable hour, the path of glory led but to the grave." In stanza 3, the personer imagines himself as someone who has passed on in death in the lines, a prick like a plague oblivious of his fate. Life, as the personer imagines, motions, does not care about his book-learned skill, but can take the personer to grave, and grave suggests the use of euphemism as it paints the unpleasant situation presented in a light mood. However, the message is clear, and it is that death does not even respect one's level of education, nor not even the personas. So I would have loved to conclude my review of this collection with the poem Heaven, found in the segment entitled Arriving, but the poem Wilderness Experience, found in the segment entitled Gathering, stares on me like a newborn baby waiting to be tickled to smile. The mentioning of wilderness in the title is a biblical allusion to the condition experienced by the children of Israel in the Bible. There was hardship, hunger, suffering, all to take the first fate of the Israelites. In the first stanza, the personal employs alliteration to capture how long humans have been waiting to have a taste of good life. Waiting, waiting, waiting and waiting. Wandering, wandering, withering, and now withering. It is stylistic that it begins with waiting and ends with withering. In stanza 2, the personal creates a beautiful visual imagery of a suffering man. He makes use of simile to compare a suffering man to a confused pizza that spreads around but fat enough to mean nothing. It reminds the reader that a suffering man might be fat or has an added flesh to the body, but that does not eliminate the fact that the man is suffering. It then becomes a situational irony that a suffering man could be fat, a nothing less kind of fat. So the suffering fat man in stanza 3 is pictured as bursting. This is symbolic and rightly captures not achieving anything in life until death ends it all. The last stanza showcases time as that which has so changed. Time assumes a human state and is personified as that which has changed its garment to crimson red. This means that man's suffering has tripled to the apex. This is true when we look at human conditions, especially in Nigeria today. Hunger, joblessness, insecurity, injustice, among others, are militated against the common man. In fact, the mentioning of rage reminds me of a popular mime among Nigerian users of social media. Your eye will face law, to signal the type of suffering that leaves the eye, glory, and rage. The personal once again leaves the reader with a void to fill with the lines, and nothing else is different, with an intentional non-usage of a full stop, which marked the end of the poem, but he rather leaves it open. Evaluation. To the best of my knowledge, this collection is error-free. The choice of language by the author is grandeur and highly elevated. The cover picture captures a face that is almost trickled with various colors of light green, gray, and black, probably pointing to the complexities of life. No wonder that Ndubisi Martins, author of Answers Through the Bramble, says that Hansen is unnoticed, yet dominant, present for the eyes that have eyes. Otibe Hansen's unnoticed presence of things went on to win the 2023 ANA Prize for Poetry, showcasing the dexterity and grandeur of this welcoming collection. Conclusion. Otibe Hansen's unnoticed presence of things is a beautiful first entry that captures life and timelessness from the author's purview. We can only imagine what subsequent entries will look like. I must specifically commend the author for writing poetry as poetry with particular attention to hidden meanings. The style of inviting the reader's thoughts on many of the poems by leaving it open without a closure is also welcome, as it brings the reader into an active part of the subject matter under consideration. Recommendation. I heartily recommend Unnoticed Presence of Things to the world. All Nigerians, lovers of poetry, and the numerous youths still searching for answers to life's complexities, and others still trying to find the meaning of life. I recommend this collection to every poetry class taught in the university and beyond.
All right, thank you, Love, for reading Barnabas Dick's review of two Hanson's Noticed Presence of Things. We've reviewed two books so far, and that is the Joe Share Poetry Prize Anthology, edited by Romabo, Asha Jeffers, and Matthias Hill. And now we've also reviewed two Hanson's Noticed Presence of Things. And talking about the Joe Share Poetry Prize Anthology, Johnson Tene is on standby to answer some questions regarding the Joe Share Poetry Prize. And I'm going to put him on call right now. And when it's up, we can talk. Johnsonism as a philosophy.
Hello, good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Fine, thank God.
Okay, so how is Canada today?
Thank God, the weather is better today.
Okay, so are you saying that this afternoon in Canada right now?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I think it's about, no, it's no more afternoon in Nigeria because it is shortly past 6 p.m. and I think we can call it evening. Yeah, so you have to talk to us about the Joe Share Poetry Prize. What is it all about?
Okay, so the Joe Share Poetry Prize is an initiative that we set up in 2025 to honor the legacy of Professor Joe, whom I assume everybody in the room knows, while also creating a platform to being the spotlight on contemporary Nigerian poetry. When you look at the literary scene across the world, you will find that there's a significantly lower appreciation for poetry in terms of prizes and platforms that celebrate poetry as compared to prose, for instance. And I mean, that is quite understandable. Prose is pretty straightforward, pretty accessible to everybody. And in any case, the poetry, what has come to be known as poetry today is basically just spoken word. So we wanted to create an avenue for people to sort of feel poetry as written on the page again. Honor the legacy of our mentor, one of the greatest writers from Nigeria, as well as a deep father figure to many of us from our region, while also reawakening the consciousness of poetry as written on the page. So we started the Joe Poetry Prize. We, of course, it's not just a talk matter, so we pegged a $500 cash prize for it. So the winner of the Joe Poetry Prize every year goes on with $500. We also offer conciliatory prizes to the other two finalists. So that's basically it. And then we publish all the long-listed authors in an anthology for more visibility, and also to sort of collate the spirit of the times in a single place so that everybody can read it. The anthology is free and publicly available on the prize website, so people can read and see. Yes, that's basically all there is to it. Of course, we set up a foundation, the Jose Literature Foundation, to administer the prize. But that's basically all it is about. It's an opportunity for younger writers, even established writers, to share their writing and perhaps win some money, get some recognition.
Yeah, so what do you really hope to achieve in the long run with the running of the prize?
With what? With the owner of the prize?
With the running of the prize, what do you hope to achieve in the long run?
Well, first of all, I mean, there's nothing personal in it for me. That's one. But I think the main thing is to solidify the legacy of Professor O'Shea, who has published, I think, over 5 collections of poems, very widely read, widely translated, and highly acclaimed poet. So we thought that something extra could be done to sort of immortalize his legacy. That's really the goal. But in terms of the running of the prize, we're hoping to get to the point where we'll have perhaps the foremost award for poetry, by transparency of our process, by sheer interest in the prize, by sheer publication status. I mean, last year we published 27 long-listed poets. This year we're looking at publishing 51 long-listed poets. Many of our poets, our long-listed poets, that was their first time winning anything, you know. Some have been here and there. And it would also interest you to know that the Joshua Poetry Prize is the first literary prize or the first poetry prize resident exclusively in Uyo. You know, so we also want to bring Uyo to the center of literary discussion via that prize and via other initiatives that we hope to start. So yes, that's basically it.
Okay, so what was your impression of the first outing at the anthology that's being reviewed today?
Well, I was wowed. I feel sad, first of all, because I couldn't be there for the award ceremony and Canadian immigration issues, you know. But the award ceremony went well. The anthology was well published. We're still distributing to the long-listed authors. All those that have had access to copies have been quite impressed with it. I mean, the sheer quality of the poems was staggering. So, Planeyo always delivers good quality. So, I haven't seen the book myself physically, but from what I've seen online and the e-copy, I'm quite satisfied with it.
Yeah, so and the prize is running for a second year. So, what are your hopes?
Well, we have actually closed entries for the second year. We had 236 entrants, and we are beginning the adjudication process. So that is some some huge, I don't know, it's not a battle, but like some tournaments to behold. I'm wowed by some of the persons. I've read some of them were collating, but that's just about it. I can't really speak much about the process since it's still ongoing.
Yeah, and so, the reviewer here was asking why there was no female in the first anthology. Do you hope that we have female this time around?
We actually did have a female, we were supposed to. The female poet, actually, all of our 3 poems, our 3 submissions were deemed worthy to be published, but she refused to consent to publication, and there's nothing we could do.
Okay, but what does that say about the poetry craft itself? Is it still a male preserve? Is it still something that only mostly men could practice? And do you think that there's something we need to do specifically to encourage more women to get into poetry writing?
Well, I'll just make this my last answer because I really have to go. But to answer your question, I don't think so. Speaking from having seen the entries this year, it's like a 50-50 division among the genders. But I don't think, like when you look at the spectrum of Nigerian literature today, the female writers are beating the male writers hands down. So,
but not really in poetry. Ladies tend to write more fiction.
No. Even in poetry, like the Evaristo poetry festival just announced 2 days ago, within a week ago, and it was won by a woman. The rest of the people on the shortlist are guys. So you can't release it.
So what do you think happened with the first one then? That we didn't have many ladies, of course.
I have no idea. Dr. I really have to go.
All right, no problem. So thank you so much, Johnson Turner, for speaking to us on the Joe Shea Poetry Prize Anthology. I wish you a very beautiful day and a nice day.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, bye.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was Johnson Turner speaking to us about the Joe Shea Poetry Prize Anthology and about the contest for this year. Of course, this particular reviewed anthology is for the prize that was run last year, the very first session for it. The second edition is running this year, and I hope that this time around we have more female poets, because I am concerned about the issue raised by Love that there was no female published in that anthology. And on that note, I think that we will bring Planeyo Book Circle to a close today. Otubo Hansen was not able to get here to review Afro Rococo by Ayoitem. We hope that he's going to do that next time. And of course, it has been a beautiful, beautiful outing today, considering that we spoke to the managing director of Samu Educational Limited, who spoke to us about publishing and his years of experience in book publishing in Nigeria. And of course, we had a review of the Joe Shea Poetry Prize Anthology by Love Udo, and we also she also read the review sent in by Barnabas Dick, which was a review of Otubo Hansen's Unnoticed Presence of Things. And on that note, I would like to thank everyone for having made this 8th edition of Planeyo Book Circle a success. Thank you very much, and you'll have a blessed day.